the heart and soul behind every business. Stories. Welcome to Business Story of the Week, hosted by me, Joshua Laurie. From setbacks to comebacks, from tragedies to triumphs, we inspire entrepreneurs through conversations that matter. Witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. Whether it's your career, business, or life, your success is always one story away. This is Business Story of the Week.
This is Swikle, and you're listening to Business Story of the Week.
And that is the man himself, Wade Swikle. He's our guest for today. And of course, my name is Joshua. I am your host for today and every day and every week and every episode. We ask you guys a question. And today's question is, how do you turn a pickup truck and $600 into a multi-million-dollar empire? Well, that is the question right there, because Wade is the man who did exactly that, and he's going to be sharing his story to us today. Wade started his moving company again with just $600 in a pickup truck at the age of 21 while a student at University of Florida over 11 years ago. He grew it into a multi-million-dollar business with multiple locations is now franchising the concept. Wade hosts the longest actively running moving industry podcast and is a co-founder of Moving Titans Retreat, a mastermind retreat that brings together ambitious moving company owners from around the world to uplift the moving industry. And today, Wade is going to be uplifting us. He's going to be sharing his story, his insight, his experience. Wade, thank you for coming on the show. How are you doing?
Good, Josh. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's quite exciting as well. This is again the success, the business story. That's literally the title of the show. Your story is perfect for the show. But before we truly start getting into it, Wade, I always like to start off the show this way. What was the young Wade Swikle like? Did he always know he was going to get into the moving business? What would the young Wade say to the Wade of today?
Well, it's funny that you asked that because growing up, my parents moved around a lot. I always say they were joggers, and they would go jogging in all these different neighborhoods around town, and they'd see these houses for sale. They always had a passion for real estate. My mom currently has a real estate license. And they would see these houses and they like to spend their weekends just taking us around and going to open houses. It was just like their hobby, like what they like to do. And every so often they'd find a house that they fell in love with and they'd make an offer and they'd get accepted. And then all of a sudden we'd be moving. So it was like, I think we moved, I don't know, until I graduated high school, we probably moved 7 or 8 times, but it was mostly all within the same town. So my brother and I hated it. Like, we just wanted to be in the same house and not have to pack up all of our stuff and run the trips, because a lot of times they wanted to, do it mostly on their own and try to save money. We hired movers from time to time too. Once I got older, I became the mover for my parents, and
Of course.
probably around high school years. And I think one of the times we moved probably in middle school. I was like the third time we had moved in, I don't know, 5, 6 years.
Oh, wow.
And actually, probably no. I think it was the third time we had moved in like 3 or 4 years. And I was just over it. And I was complaining to my parents, and my parents would joke and they'd say, "Wouldn't it be funny if one day Wade owned a moving company?" And I was like, no, not gonna happen. And I think that honestly, it's like one of those things where it's like you try not to do something, and then you're trying not to think about something, and all you can think about is that thing.
The more you
So I got a lot of experience at a young age, seeing the movers, moving my parents, myself, and just seeing the whole process. And we saw movers that were good, and we saw movers that were terrible, and everything in between. So, I had a pickup truck in high school. And of course, when you have a pickup truck, you're always being asked to help people move stuff, whether it's your friends, family, whatever, picking up a piece of furniture here and there. So I was always very entrepreneurial. I never thought I'd actually start a moving company. I used to sell candy bars at school. I'd go buy a bunch of candy bars in bulk from Walmart or Sam's Club, and then turn around and sell them for $1, because a lot of kids did that for fundraisers. And I was like, well, why don't I just raise funds for myself? I'm below the poverty line technically as a high school student, so I need some charity here too. So, but so I would sell candy bars. I'd invite my friends over, to come over and play, but we didn't know. When they'd get there, we'd set up a car wash in the neighborhood.
Right.
I tried to start a wiffle ball league in my neighborhood and handed out flyers to all the houses that had kids in it. So there's always
Uh-huh.
like little projects, I always like building. I always like creating things. I'd build
Mm-hmm.
forts. I'd go haul away scrap lumber from local construction sites and build forts out of it. So,
Uh-huh.
that was what young Wade was like. And I think that passion for building, I wanted to be a builder when I was really little. And my parents were like, you don't want to just be a construction worker. You want to be
Right.
something different. So, but I love the idea of building,
Mm-hmm.
Connects and Legos and Lincoln Logs, whatever it was. And
Mm-hmm.
now that I'm older, I translate that passion to building into building businesses. And, it really is my hobby. I love what I do. I love, I've got 6 different business projects that I'm either the sole owner or a co-owner in. And I just love the idea of constantly building things. And I think that's really where my passion for entrepreneurship comes from.
I love it, and also, of course, it's a very, it's a very hilarious story as well. But at the same time, it feels like you've always had moving was always in your blood.
It
It's
was.
funny to
That's
see
for
it that
sure.
way. But I love how you also mentioned to us that building along with it was also has always been part of you. And I love that you took that opportunity, and now you've built it into the company that it is today. Wait, talk to us real quick about that journey. You started with a pickup truck. You started with your high school friends, maybe up into college and university. The real question is, how did you take it from a pickup truck to a multi-million dollar empire today? How did that happen?
Yeah, so I mean, I had the trunk all through college, and I was just looking for ways to make money. I came home from summer my freshman year. We were in the middle of the recession in 2009, and I grew
Mm-hmm.
up in a Florida beach town called Venice, Florida, and that's honestly the slowest time of the year for just any kind of business that might be hiring a college student for the summer. So there weren't a lot of
Mm-hmm.
jobs available because not only were businesses slower, but it was the recession, and I was competing with a lot of people that had gotten laid off from their corporate jobs. So I was going up against people with college degrees to work as a server at a restaurant. So I probably applied like 30 different places and couldn't find a job. And my dad was going to line me up with something with one of his friends that would have been folding clothes in the back room of a mall all summer. And I definitely didn't want to do that. So
Oh wow.
I posted ads on Craigslist saying that,
Okay.
young college athlete, I played baseball at the time with a pickup truck looking for any kind of general labor. And I started to get a lot of calls to help people load and unload U-Haul trucks and just to use my pickup truck to do small
Mm-hmm.
moves across town. And so I did that all summer and I loved it. I loved being able to make my own schedule. I collected cash. People would oftentimes feed me. They'd give me tips. I got to meet new people, see new job sites every day. So, it was a great way to spend the summer. I loved being physical. I loved working with my hands and getting a good workout in. And so I came
Mm-hmm.
back to school at the University of Florida and just kind of did that on and off throughout my college career. I'd worked other jobs too, but ultimately I graduated with a degree in broadcast communications. I wanted to potentially be a news reporter, but after
Well,
I got through that program, I realized like I don't think I want to be a news reporter. Like I want to start business. And moving was
right.
simple. It was something I understood and it was just a low barrier to entry. And I figured, let's see if I can actually make this a legitimate company. And so I
Wow.
actually enrolled in a master's degree program in entrepreneurship at the same
Oh.
time that I started my official business. At that point in time, it was called Smarter Moving Solutions LLC. And I got a insurance agent to take a
Uh-huh.
chance on me, and I took my $600 that I had saved up and used it as a down payment for commercial movers insurance and a mover's license to get licensed with the state of Florida. And yeah, I mean, I still just had my pickup truck, but I would go rent Penske trucks or U-Haul trucks when I needed a bigger truck for a bigger move until I saved up enough money to buy a trailer for my pickup truck. And then I had the opportunity. Two College Brothers was actually a competing company started by a couple students that had the same idea. And
Mm-hmm.
we competed against them for 2 summers up in Gainesville, Florida. And they reached out to me one day and said they wanted to sell the business and go off and do other things.
Well,
And I was like, wow, I idolized this company. I love the brand that they had built. I thought it was a
wow.
sticky brand. They had a lot of market share, more market share than I built at the time. So decided it would be a good opportunity. Two College Brothers in the fall of 2013. And at that point in time, they had a truck. They had supposedly like 3 other locations, but they weren't real locations. They were kind of just
Mm-hmm.
like satellite offices where they get like a
Mm-hmm.
student ambassador and a couple other college towns to go rent trucks and kind of do that. So I ended up closing down all those other locations and just focusing on the main moving operation in Gainesville and just started acquiring trucks. Saved up money to buy used trucks. and we'd still rent trucks if we needed to. And I knew I wanted to start another location eventually, but I really wanted to figure out like the systems and processes and really get that one location dialed in before I went off and did that.
Right.
So I spent the next few years up in Gainesville, just trying to build the best company that I could possibly build. I would hire a lot of college students at the time. That was my network. I was in a fraternity, so I had a big network of strong guys that could come and help move things.
Mhm.
And I employed a lot of my fraternity brothers over the next few years. A lot of guys that were either in between jobs looking for their career, and they would just move as a mover until they could find another job, or some guys that were still in school that needed to just have a part-time job while they were studying at college. And, it just started to grow. We ended up winning a bunch of awards locally in Gainesville. We won the overall Small Business of the Year award through the Gainesville Chamber of Commerce. We were voted #1 moving company through the local newspaper.
Very cool.
And it just started to get a lot of traction in Gainesville. And
Mhm.
my fleet expanded, my crew expanded, I got an office space, and I realized like, okay, this is like starting to go somewhere. The marketing that we're doing is working. The processes that we have are working. I'm still figuring out a lot along the way. And I decided I'd go and try to open a second location in Tampa, Florida. That was in like the fall of 2015. So I spent the next several years driving back and forth between Gainesville and Tampa. Gainesville was kind of our flagship location at the time, and Tampa was an up and coming location. And I knew there was a big opportunity in Tampa. It was a huge market, a lot bigger than the Gainesville market was. And it took probably 3 or 4 years before we could break through the noise in Tampa because there was a lot more competition, and the marketing that worked in Gainesville didn't really work that well in Tampa. So I had to figure out new strategies and get a pulse on that market. And that's when I started the podcast because I was just looking for answers. And so I started a podcast. We didn't have a moving industry podcast at the time. So I couldn't listen to somebody else's podcast to try to get the answers I needed for my industry. I had to just pick up the phone and call other moving company owners that were achieving success in their markets. And I, after a few of those conversations, I was like, this needs to be recorded because other people can use this info. It's so valuable. And that really was my first like real mentorship in the moving and storage industry. And once I started to get tap into those resources and that mentorship, I started to learn about other conferences, and I just learned a ton from like 2017 to 2019, 2020. And during COVID, I made the decision. Channel started to explode. Like it really started to take off. And we had started to get SEO traction on Google and online. And so I decided in 2020 that, it made more sense to move our headquarters from Gainesville down to Tampa, leased an 11,400 square foot warehouse that we would use for storage and get into the storage side of business. And then eventually sold that Gainesville location as a franchise. I'd always wanted to franchise, but had to learn all about that industry because that was a completely different industry. So learned about franchising, got our FDD set up, and ended up selling that location as a franchise and continuing to grow into the Tampa Bay market. Now Tampa Bay is our biggest market. That's our biggest location. We have another franchise that opened up at the beginning of this year in San Antonio, Texas. And we're getting ready to open up another location in Naples, Florida next week, actually. We just signed a lease to an office. We're going to send a truck down there, and I've got an excellent person that's going to be running that office. So hopefully we're going to convert that to a franchise at some point too. But we see a huge opportunity in the Naples market. It's a very affluent market, and it's not a lot of competition down there as of right now. So that's really where we're at. We're still trying to take over the Tampa Bay area. Still do the podcast, have a couple of franchises, a new location opening up. And the podcast actually spun off the Moving Titan Retreat because I was meeting all these awesome people, building all these connections. And so we decided to host small gatherings in Airbnbs a few years ago where we can mastermind with each other. And that's blown up into a full-scale conference. Our next one's going to be at a JW Marriott. We're expecting 500 people to attend. We have sponsors and amazing speakers. And then the conference business has spun off a training program called Tighten Up Training, which is currently the #1 online training program for moving company owners. We shot it with high definition Netflix grade cameras and a big production studio. And it's all the moving training, it's sales training, it's marketing, it's leadership, it's fitness, even to become a better owner of your business company, personal development. And, there just weren't a lot of resources. There still aren't a lot of resources for aspiring moving company owners out there. So, really, what I'm trying to do at this point is build an entire ecosystem around the moving and storage industry, because all of these businesses help each other in some way,
I
shape, or
love it.
form. And they serve as lead funnels for each other. They serve as training
Yes, of
reinforcement for
course.
each other, culture building things. So at this point in time, we're trying to grow the Tampa office, open up more locations, allow the existing locations to grow as much as possible, and just build out this whole ecosystem around the moving and storage industry.
I love it. I love how you unraveled that entire journey just now, because there's a lot to pick up there. But first of all, to date, how many franchises right now? How many locations?
Well, we're about to have 4 total locations. 2 of those are franchised locations.
Wow. Wow, fascinating. I mean, you took this journey into, from everything, from learning how to run your entrepreneurship with your entrepreneurship degree. You took a chance with that license. You learned how to run it, and then you went off and expanded into different locations, knowing that, hey, maybe there's an opportunity there. How validating must it have felt also to have that one sole competitor that you had in your first location, to have them sell to you. And I'm like, wow, I'm doing something right. And I felt like that gave you the push to give to look at other locations. But more than that, you didn't stop there. You kept growing. You kept looking at other opportunities. You had to learn franchising as well. And now you're trying to grow. You said like one of your biggest locations is Tampa. I was just reminded, I had Nick Friedman as a guest. He's also in
Oh, really?
Tampa, Florida. Yeah, he
Yeah.
was a guest on here, College Chunks, Holly Jug. He was a guest on the show. Really great guy. And of course, you guys are the two collegebrothers.com for our audience and listeners out there who wants to go check out Wade and what they do. But Wade, you turned this into a so much more than just a moving company. Right, you've turned this into, like you said, you've turned this into an ecosystem, a resource network for moving companies. And not only that, you created you literally created a mastermind retreat for moving companies, moving industries. And it's just blown up, I think, to a point where you have solidified yourself not just as a moving expert or a moving company owner, but also one of the true titans, moving titans of the industry. I love it. And of course, the name fits right there. Wade, when it comes to scaling, and because this is truly what you did, and you did it in such an organic way as well. If scaling a business was like moving a house, what would be the heaviest furniture you had to carry in order to reach success?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's funny you mentioned Nick, because he just came onto my podcast a couple weeks ago, and he's speaking at our
Hey, Nick.
upcoming retreat. So it's a small world, small community, but great guy. That's a really interesting question. What is the heaviest piece of furniture to scaling a business? I mean, it's getting the right people onto your team. I mean, because this isn't something that I've just been able to do on my own. Like, I've had to rely on a team. I've had to learn how to delegate. I've had to learn how to create systems and processes. And we've been fortunate to be able to attract a lot of really quality talent. We wouldn't be opening the Naples location if we didn't have a rock star on board that would be willing to go down there and open up that office. And so I think first and foremost for any business starting out is to just get the right people on your team, get the right people on the bus and in the right seats. That's another important thing is being able to identify what talent certain people have. Are they more operationally minded? Are they more sales or marketing minded? Are they more like HR, process driven, recruiting? That ultimately is going to help you continue to build out the team. Being able to bring in somebody who has the potential to be a leader, and then to be able to empower them to become a leader so that they can bring on other potential leaders underneath them and ultimately be able to empower them. You can't build a multi-million-dollar business on your own, at least in the home services industry, maybe in something online or whatever, but I don't know that space. In order to do something that is very customer relationship dependent, that you have to be able to not only relate to like a high-end affluent customer, but also be able to relate to like an entry-level blue collar
That's it.
mover.
Yes, of
You have
course.
to have be dynamic in that. You just have
Mm-hmm.
to have that charisma to be able to relate to different types of people, because it's a
Mm-hmm.
very people driven business. Or you
Absolutely.
don't get the
Mm-hmm.
luxury of having a big inventory of things sitting on a shelf for weeks or months, and then we sell
Mm-hmm.
those things. Like, our inventory is people, and so we're
Mm-hmm.
only as good as how many good people we have to go out and
Wow.
service the moves and be able to help the customers book the moves and everything in between. So I'd say that's a huge one. I mean, as far as like the big piece that we need to move into place. But
I
then, of
love that.
course, there's systems and processes. We've got really extensive training. We've
Mm-hmm.
got detailed systems and processes for every role in the
Mm-hmm.
entire company, so that when we do find those good people, we can bring them in and onboard them quickly and get them doing the things, following the recipe and the formula in the exact same way, so everybody's on the same page. And then
Mm-hmm.
just knowing your numbers and your KPIs, your key performance indicators. That's a lot of stuff I didn't know in the very beginning. But it's not just your accounting. Like, it's how do you set up your books? It's what
Mm-hmm.
goes beyond just the profit and loss statement and the balance sheet, but like, what are the true key performance indicators you need to look at on a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual basis?
Mm-hmm.
We have certain KPIs for our marketing spend. We want to see a certain ROI on every individual marketing source and be able to track each source. We have KPIs on our labor spend to make sure we're not overspending on labor, especially as it relates to cost of goods sold, but also from an administrative standpoint. So there's a lot of, I mean, there's a lot more, but just looking at a lot of these different these metrics regularly to be able to make sure that we're staying focused on the right track. Because in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, I didn't know a lot of that, and we were just kind of all over the place and weren't very profitable for a long time because I wasn't looking at the right things and I wasn't using that compass that I needed to be able to make sure we were going in the right direction. So I've learned a lot of that through the retreat, through the podcast, through a lot of the mentorship and the other
Mm-hmm.
resources that I've tried to reach out and tap into. So I recommend, any business owner starting out, look for people that are already really successful in your industry and reach out to them and try to get answers to a lot of the things that might be beneath the surface, because there
Absolutely.
isn't a book that's going to tell you how to succeed in your specific industry. In most
Mm-hmm.
cases, sometimes there might be, but not really. And I think that it doesn't work like that in a lot of different industries. And so mentorship is just so important. Just find people that have already achieved success in what you want to do and find out the things that you don't know, because you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm. You don't know what you don't know, and people are your inventory. I love that. Of course, it makes so much sense. You need the people to scale. You need the right team to scale, but at the same time, having that system allows you to scale faster, so to speak. But you need that people component, you need that tech component, you need that goal orientation component as well. And I think those are really keys to what you have done successfully. But at the end of the day, you took people in, you heard their ideas, you guys heard each other out, and you just, you uplifted each other. I love that. Uplifting the moving industry. Of course, Wade, the penultimate question, so to speak, the as an industry that is centered around people, how has your experience with moving shape your perspective on moving people, right? Whether through leadership, training, or mentorship, are there any parallels that you can draw from the actual moving industry company and the service that you built to now bringing that to when you are actually moving people, inspiring them to be leaders, training them to be mentors, and of course, with your moving Titan retreats, is there any parallels that you can draw from moving to actual moving people?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we created like a roadmap to success that we have
Mm-hmm.
displayed prominently in our office. So if you're just starting off as a mover or driver, we show you exactly what it takes to get to the next level within our own organization. And there's a couple of paths you can follow with that. We give our guys like these little truck stickers that they can put their name on and stick it to like whatever position they aspire to. And that might be getting into sales, that might mean
Uh-huh.
getting into management, So you can kind of go off on those two tracks, or it could go all the way to the top, and it could be either becoming a CEO and replacing my job one day, or opening
Of
up your own
course.
franchise one day,
Mhm,
and becoming
mhm.
your own CEO and your own business owner. So, that's something that we want to make very clear. This is not just a dead end position. If you start off on the
Right.
trucks with us, we want to give a clear path to advancement. And
Mhm.
anytime there's a position that opens up above, we always look down and see, okay, who's proven themselves at this level that we're willing to take a chance on the next level, and be able to try to
Right.
move people up into the company. And, the Naples location is a perfect example. It was somebody who
Perfect
came in that started off as a customer service representative. We actually call it our chief of raving fans. This is
example.
somebody whose job is to check in with every customer and make sure that they had a perfect move, and if they didn't, to make it right. And she did such a great job of that. We promoted her into more of like an HR, process management,
Okay.
recruiting role. And then from there, gave her more responsibilities on the franchise side, helping get our San Antonio location off the ground, and helping to maintain our Gainesville franchise, and really learning about the ins and outs of the business ownership. And she's just been a rock star every step of the way. And
Wow.
she came to me and said, "Hey, I want to try to open up my own location down in Naples. Like, would you be willing to back it? And then
Wow.
ultimately, if it does well, potentially we convert it to a franchise." I said, "Absolutely. I mean, there's nobody else in this company I'd trust more to go open another location than you." Like, she lives in
Wow.
Naples. She works remotely down there. So is well
Wow.
connected. And I said, let's make it happen. And so basically that's kind of the next step. She's still going to have a lot of her
Mhm.
responsibilities on kind of the executive side, running the day-to-day operation, but she wants to open a new location. She's seen
Wow.
firsthand how it works with the franchises, and she's gonna give it a shot. And then if it goes well, then ultimately she would get to own that location as a franchise. So I think that's the exact opportunity that I want to create. From an entry level customer service position to owning your own franchise one day, and then even working as an executive in other aspects of the company. I love that. I look for that when I'm hiring, even for the smaller, lower level positions, because ultimately that's the future of our company. And anytime we
Mhm.
can promote from within and give people a career and not just a job, then
I love
that
it.
means that I've done my job how I want to do it.
I love it. Like this is precisely the definition of why I say that you've gone just from more than just a moving company to now a moving industry titan, so to speak. Of course, we're not going to let you go until we mention your upcoming book, Hometown Titan, is coming out soon. Talk to us a bit about that. And of course, where else can we find you? Where else can we connect with you? Wade.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a book coming out. Basically, it draws on my 12 years of business ownership
Wow.
experience and my journey from starting off with basically $600 in a pickup truck to now opening up franchise, new locations, building a
Mhm.
multi-million dollar moving company, and just the ecosystem around the moving industry. It's a
Right.
book geared towards anybody that might want to start their own business, and especially if it's in like the home services or the real estate field on a local
Mhm.
level, anybody who wants to start their own local business, and then
Mhm.
any existing entrepreneurs who might have a local business, whether it's a moving company, a service business, a real estate agent that's trying to take over their market. It's all about
Mhm.
building a business that dominates your hometown market. So we
Right.
want people to become hometown titans in their own right and learn how to become pillars of their community, learn how to gain market share, learn how to connect with the other pillars of the community and be able to network and be able to attract the best talent to their organization, and ultimately become an institution, a local institution, to where they can hold their head high walking through the supermarket and everybody knows them by name.
Wow.
That's
Very
where
cool.
I feel like I excel. Grassroots marketing, the networking, just building something that you can be proud of in your own backyard, that you get to drive down the street and you see your trucks going by you and you're like, wow, like I built that. So
Mhm.
that's what Hometown Titan's all about. It's very lighthearted. I talk a lot about the failures and the funny stories that kind of led me down the path that I'm at. I think the
Mhm.
mistakes not to make, as well as a lot of the things that I found that work really well, sometimes by accident. And it's going to be something that hopefully can help a lot of local small business owners, or even medium to big size local business owners, but anybody that has a locally centered business, learn how to dominate the markets that they serve.
Let's go. And you become the hometown titan yourself where you are, sticking to your roots. And of course, who best to learn from than Wade himself and all the other guys at the Moving Titan retreat as well. Of course, a website, twocollegebrothers.com. And of course, we will also have the movingtitanretreats.com. Ladies and gentlemen, audience and listeners, if you guys want to go check those out, make sure to check out those website. Wade, where else can we find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can check me out on Instagram. That's probably the best way to do it. It's just it's at Wade Swikle, at my first and last name. Send me a direct message. Be happy to connect with you on there. And you can pre-order the book at hometowntitanbook.com. We're going to be doing a official book launch later on in September, and then hopefully start getting it into people's hands by October. So, going through the whole publishing process with that right now. But I'd say, yeah, connect with me on Instagram. That's probably the best place to find me, at Wade Swikle.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, at Wade Swikle, go check him out on Instagram. Go connect with him. Check out what he is doing now as a titan in the industry and all the other titans that he has gone with him. Again, this is not just an insight for the moving industry. Of course, a lot of business insight on this episode and this, entrepreneurial insights into all our audience and listeners out there. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Wade, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. This was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Yeah, I hope you guys had a lot of fun as well. Thank you for watching the episode, and we will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.